Hello, my name is Franklin and welcome to my channel. Today we have a termite sweeper. The customer says that it will not crank and will not start. So we're going to check it out and fix it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the battery to make sure it works before we start getting into it. So you can see I have the voltmeter set on DC voltage. That means DC voltage, which is for any kind of equipment, you know, bobcats, skid steers, sweepers, whatever. And this connection, this section right here, is checking your house voltage, 110, 220. And that's the only two you really need to worry about besides continuity. This is resistance, and this one here is continuity. It'll beep. When you put one on one end of a wire, one and on the other end of a wire, it should beep or should give you 0 ohms. That way you can know you have a complete circuit before you or you can check fuses with it also. But for now, we're going to check the battery voltage. Okay, it's not a very lot of a whole bunch of space in here. So, but there's the battery. So we're going to put one of them on the negative. Doesn't matter which one really. It'll just read negative or positive. We put one in the right there in that positive terminal, and you put one in the negative terminal, and you see it reads 12.24 volts. That's a fully charged battery as far as voltage. Now you can have 12 volts and still have a bad battery. I do not have the battery tester apparatus with me, but it should be okay. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to make sure there's actually power, that it actually works. Without having a battery tester, we can test a different way to make sure that it actually does have power. So let me get a small wire and we'll do that. Okay, I have here a wire. It is stripped on both ends. It's a complete wire, and you know, you could have 12 volts on your battery and it could still not be any good. So the only way to find out is to put a load on it to make sure. And if you look at your starter there, I'll pull this out here for now. If you look at your starter, the back of the starter, you can see the back of the starter there. Okay, the back of the starter should have, the starter normally has 2 input wires. You see that red wire there? That red wire has to come straight from the positive of the battery. So you usually have one big wire, that's your big wire, and that little green wire, see how it sticks in? That's the one that activates the starter. So you have 12 volts coming from the ignition switch, which goes into that wire right there and makes it start. So you can jump from the green wire to the red wire, and then if it cranks, then your battery is probably good. You have a problem with the wiring or the controls. So let's do that. Let me hook it up so we can make a test, just to make sure the battery actually has load. So the little green wire you see there, let me see if I can make it bigger. Almost all starters are the same. You see a little green wire sticking in there? That's the one that actually activates the starter and makes it turn. When you crank your key, turn your key to the crank position, it sends 12 volts to that little wire, and that causes the positive wire to activate and get the power to the starter. So we're going to bypass the key and run a wire straight from the battery to that wire where the green one's at. And let's do that now. I'll get it set up and we'll come right back. Okay, see, I have the white wire. I'm going to pull this green wire out because we're going to test right there. If I can find it over here. Okay, I got it now. Okay, pull the green wire out right there. And then this white wire right here, you can see it. I'm going to put it in the positive battery terminal here, someplace where it'll stay. This is my test wire. I'm going to put it in the positive battery terminal, so we can test and make sure the battery is good before we spend a lot of time fooling around with it. Okay. I really need some alligator clamps, but I don't know where I left them. So for now, we'll just do what we can to get it in there. Okay, it's in there. Let's see if it'll stay in there. Okay, that's one end. And the other end, wherever it's at, down there on the ground. Okay. It's still in the battery connection. And the other end we want to stick in where the green wire was at, and that way we can know if the battery is actually good or not. Can't see it from here. Now I can see it. Okay, we'll stick it in there. Where is it? Okay, there it is. There. Okay, it cranked. You hear that? And the fuel pump came on. So that means the battery is good. We have a wire control problem. And there's a problem because the ignition switch came on. Okay, so we now know that the battery is actually good and the starter is good because it cranked. I put the wire back in there, and also the fuel pump came on when we cranked it, so that means there's a loose connection somewhere. But it's probably going to be an ignition switch, but let's take a look at it. And we'll find the problem. Let's try cranking it again. No, nothing again. Let's move this switch. Okay, let's take the switch out and test it. Okay, the engine did crank, so that means the battery is good and the starter is good. So we had to have a problem with the controls, and the fuel pump came on for a few seconds and went off. So it seems like we may have a bad connection somewhere, but everything looks good. I've tried and moved everything around. Everything looks good here. Yeah. So what we'll do now, we'll check the switch next. Okay, so I'll go ahead and we'll pull this key out, take that off, and pull this down. Now, it's a Kubota engine, and it happens that this is a Kubota switch, and they are very easy to test. Let me get a tripod and we'll come back. Okay, what we have here is a Kubota switch. Now, many pieces of equipment, even if they're not Kubota, may still have a Kubota switch. They're very common and they're super heavy duty. They work in the rain and everything, and they don't burn out near as bad. Now, looking at it, most of the Kubota switches, you can tell right off the bat that if you look at this one, it's going to be 30. I can tell by the way it's at. And I always keep at least one Kubota switch in my truck, even if it has a different ignition switch in it, and it's hard to find. I can put the Kubota switch in it because I know what each one of these terminals are for. Like this one here is going to be 30. 30 comes straight from the battery. This one here says 19. That's going to be the light for your glow plugs. Number 17 is going to be your glow plugs. Number one's going to have an AC. AC means that usually goes for your ignition system, like your fuel shutoff solenoid, your fuel shutoff solenoid, and items that should be on while the thing's running. Okay, and maybe lights through a relay. And then number 50 is always going to be the one, that small brown wire you saw, the one that actually was a green wire, the cranking. The one that goes to the cranking slide is always going to be another 50 on a Kubota switch. So that makes them easy to test. But looking at this switch, I can see this one right here, dark yellow, might be burned, may not be a good contact. So, okay, it came on, I moved it around a little bit, and the pump came on. So let's see what we got here. Nothing bad right there. So what we're going to do is, we're going to give it a quick check. We're going to put it on DC voltage again. You see it's on DC voltage. And a number 30, we'll find 30. 30 is the one that comes straight from the battery. And it should be this one. It also goes to the alternator to charge the battery also. Okay, number 30 is usually your thickest wire. It's probably going to be this one here because it's thick wire and it has two, one going to the alternator. So, yes, it's going to be this one right here. So we're going to put one wire here and one on the ground. See this little screw right here? And we should get 12 volts. That one should have 12 volts at all times. If that's number 30. It looks like number 30 to me. It is number 30 because of where it's at. Okay, now let's check the wire, number 30. Just in case it's got a bad connection somewhere. Let's check it over here. And then we'll put it on the ground again. No voltage. Okay. This is also a thick one. Let's see what we got here. This is going to be probably a glow. Actually, yeah, this is going to be your glow plugs here. But if you don't have power going into number 30, you won't have any power anywhere. So you're just not going to have it. Okay, so let's make sure this is 30. Let's clean it off. Okay. Yes, that is 30. I can see 30 right there. Okay, so 30 comes from the battery. 50 is your cranking. AC is your fuel shutoff solenoid. 17 will be your glow plugs, and 19 will be your light. So you can, or your timer, on-off timer, you can use it for that also. So that is 30. So there should be actually 12 volts there. The fact that we don't have 12 volts going into it, I'm on the wire and not on the terminal itself. It could be no ground also. So to make sure the problem on the ground, it could be a bad ground also. So we're going to check first. We'll get a wire and check the ground. First, let's make sure. Anyway, that's a really bad connection. See how it's dark color? That means it got hot and it got a little bit cooked. So what we are going to do, first we want to make sure that the ground is good, because if there's no ground, you're not going to get any voltage at all. So let's check the ground over here to make sure that the battery is actually grounded to the frame before we go any further. So what we are going to do is we're going to put one on the positive and one on the ground of the frame. Let's check continuity between the ground of the battery. This is continuity. We're going to the ground wire with the frame. Just let us know if we have a good ground. Okay, hear that beep? That means the battery is grounded properly. So this is, the other leads on the battery, negative. So the ground is good. So we got to check and see where else. We're losing power from this wire here. We'll trace it back and see it maybe cut somewhere. Okay, I have this white wire here. I put it on the positive terminal of the battery. Same place as this one right here. So now we're going to check this. Okay, it does crank. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll put it right here in place of that one. Pump comes on and it does crank. Take it off. That means this wire here has a cut somewhere in between. Battery's low, and then we'll take this one and put it back on there and try it again with this one. Let's see. Nothing. So basically we have to replace this wire here. We'll just have to run a new wire. Let me go buy some wire. We'll be right back. Okay, let's make a quick recap of what we've done so far. We took the battery. It had 12 volts with the multimeter. And then we jumped a wire from here, where this green wire is, to the main power of the battery right there. Jump the wire from here to this green wire, and that bypassed the electrical system and jumps the starter. It did crank over, so that means the battery is good and the starter is good, but we still don't get it to crank from the key. So then we checked the ground wire. We checked the positive here to the ground with a multimeter, and we got 12 volts. That's good. Now see this white wire, where's that, right here? Now that one connects to, goes straight to the, comes from the, says red wire beside it. The red wire there, let's see if we can get a better look at it from this side. Oops. Okay, you see this red wire here? That's the one that comes from the battery, right there. So that means this white wire here also has 12 volts directly from the battery. And that wire is the one that goes all the way straight up to number 30 on your ignition switch. So this one here comes straight from the battery, so it should have 12 volts at all times. This white wire going to the ignition switch, but it does not. So what we are going to do to save time is I am going to just replace this wire instead of trying to figure out where it's cut at between here and there, because sometimes it just get corroded and get damaged. So we'll make a test first, and then we will replace this wire from here all the way to the ignition switch. It should be a complete wire there, but it is not. You do not get 12 volts from here to there. We already tested that. So we're going to make a quick check, and then if it works out okay, then we'll replace that wire. I went to Home Depot and I purchased 10 feet of 10 AWG THHN wire. And THHN just means that it's stranded wire. It's not a solid wire, it's stranded. It means easier to bend, and stranded wire is more for DC, not for AC. The solid wire is usually for AC. And the AWG is the wire size, which is number 10. That's American wire gauge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a terminal on this and connect it to the switch right here. And then we'll connect to the battery and we'll try it out. That way we'll know for sure the problem is this white wire. The same white wire we've seen down there is this white wire right here. This white wire here is the same one that's over there. So there should be 12 volts here, and there is not. So let's get to it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put an end on this one, a new end. Put that on there. Pop that off. Cut that piece off. It's a little bit long. Put one of these on. Okay. Actually, 2 wires on this one. Let me get it from the other side. Now, we're going to take the other end and we'll put it on the positive battery and we'll test the switch. We're basically going to be replacing the other wire. Just going to make sure it's going to work first before we put it in permanently. It already came on. It already clicked on. Oops, it's trying to move on me. That should do it. No, go backwards. Well, the battery is dead, but it's working, so we're good. So what we'll do now is we'll run this wire here all through the bottom, and we'll strap it down with some wire ties and put some wire loom on it, and then we'll give it another test. We now have the new wires connected in there up to the switch, the new wire we ran through, and we have the ignition switch reconnected, and everything seems to work okay. So it gives a crank works good, fuel pump's on, battery's dead, needs to be charged up. But other than that, everything's good to go. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. I really appreciate it. If you have time, touch that screen twice, tap it twice, or hit the like button. And if you have more time, check out some other videos, and I appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next one.